Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going over the structure of the Old Republic, which was the government that persisted within the Star Wars galaxy for 1,000 years. A lot of you may assume that it was ineffective, too decentralized, or prone to corruption, but it still persisted on the galactic scale for a literal millennium. Not many of our nations have persisted for that long. The idea of a democratic state that persists for so long is a notion that many underappreciate, but that's not the point of this video. The Old Republic has a parliamentary, democratic government structure. What this means is the highest overriding authority is vested within the Senate located on Coruscant. Senators are elected from the Republic's member worlds, each responsible to represent their people. This can be found in nations across the globe, but most notably in the United Kingdom. It's still far removed from the two houses of Westminster, because this single entity does not have any sort of overriding monarchy, nor needing to balance basically four nations inside of it. The Old Republic did have an executive branch though, being the office of the Chancellor. The Chancellor is the head of state and head of government, and when the Clone Wars began, became head of the military. Prior to the Grand Army of the Republic, or GAR, being made, the Jedi acted as the primary peacekeeping force, meaning that they operated in their own hierarchy subordinate to the Senate's overall decisions, but not under the Chancellor. The Jedi's history and relationship with the Old Republic was complicated, as they were a sort of religious order within a secular government, and often had fallouts with the Sith, which in the Republic's eyes was just another religious order. When the Grand Army was formed, its leadership would be constructed using experienced officers from planetary forces and inexperienced peacekeepers from the Jedi Order. A Chancellor is elected with a Vice-Chancellor, who helps them run the Senate and its procedures, and a personal aide, which is self-explanatory. The Chancellorship is a flexible position, but ultimately falls underneath the Senate in authority, which had the power to unilaterally impeach and then elect a new Chancellor. Chancellor Valorum would find himself removed from office in this manner, giving rise to a young senator named Sheev Palpatine. The Supreme Court was the highest legal authority within the Old Republic and acts within a special jurisdiction between Republic law and Planetary law, something I'll get to in a minute. Justices within the court were appointed for life by the Chancellor, and this fact would later become important in the eventual fall of the Republic. The Constitution of the Republic acts as its guiding principles. The Constitution outlines powers and responsibilities of the three branches of government, but can be amended by Senate vote and Senate vote only, presumably by a supermajority. On top of the Republic's legislative and legal practices remains planetary governments and societies. The Republic was host to a vast network of planets in all regions of the galaxy. Each planet had a grouping of senators to represent them, but towards the start of the Clone Wars, other groups of interest, mainly mega businesses, also had their own representatives. Planets were allowed to keep monarchs or heads of state to represent the planet locally, and to uphold many of the traditions they wanted to. This sort of decentralized system also carried into military forces, in which each planet often kept for their own security. The Old Republic reminds me a lot of the United States with this decentralization of power. I know earlier I gave the United Kingdom as an example, but the divide between federal and state authority is something I find far more realistic in the United States. The best example of the Clone Wars in my eyes is the American Civil War, whereby many states seceded from the Union after being treated like enemies, and that they lost their voice within the federal government. The idea built up during the show as well, such as the concentration of power and the lack of checks done by its citizenry, is something not uniquely American, but very much applies. Nonetheless, the Old Republic was effective for a long period of time, but the lack of awareness of the general population and complacency within the government would lead to the Old Republic's downfall and the rise of the First Galactic Empire. Well, that's all. I'll see you guys soon, and this is Arch signing off.